Hello everyone. Today we are going to look at an important topic of international relations, multilateral export control regime. Now the aim of this particular, there are some of the regimes and their aim is basically to restrict or monitor trade of arms or other dangerous weapons. Okay? So arms can be normally the arms or the nuclear arms or the chemical arms, okay, and weapons of mass destruction. So there have been some of the important organizations established with respect to this aim. So these organizations are, number one, we are having NPT and NSG, that is Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, Nuclear Suppliers Group Treaty. Okay. Second, we are having Wassenaar Agreement. Third, we are having MTCR, that is Missile Technology Control Regime. Next, we are having Australia Group and OPCW. It is so this first NPT and NSG, it is basically targeting the nuclear capable arms and technology. Second, MTCR, it is basically aiming for missile technology transfers. Third, Wassenaar, it is basically for dual use goods, any good which can be used in some other possible way also. Third, Australia Group and OPCW, they are with respect to the chemical and biological weapons. So let us understand all these one by one. So the first we are going to look at is NPT and NSG. NPT, Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, it was signed in the year 1970. 1917. Second is Nuclear Suppliers Group, which was subsequently signed in the year 1974. So we are going to look at both of these together. NPT, what is the objective of NPT? Objective of NPT is to prevent spread of nuclear weapon and to promote cooperation for peaceful use of nuclear energy. So nuclear energy could be used in multiple ways. We can use nuclear energy, or we can use the nuclear energy for, number one, to generate electricity. We can have nuclear plants where we can generate electricity. Secondly, we can also develop arms, nukes, nuclear weapons. This could also be one of the ways that we can use nuclear energy. We can have weapons also, and we can use it for generating electricity also. Now, what happened that in the year 1970, when this treaty of NPT, when this treaty of NPT was signed, then India refused to sign this treaty. Now, why India refused to sign this treaty? There were three important reasons. Number one, when this treaty was signed, 1967 was considered as a date. 1967 was considered as a date to define who is going to be a nuclear weapon state and who is going to be a non-nuclear state. 1967 date was taken. Now, why this date was taken? Because before this date only China tested its nuclear weapons, and by the time of 1967 only the major powers were having nuclear weapons, like USA, Russia, that time USSR, then United Kingdoms, France and China. Only these few countries were having nukes with them, others were not having. So India tested its nuclear weapons in the 1974 and 1998, but India's nuclear program was far ahead in 1950s itself under the guidance of Homi Jahangir Baba. But because our political leadership was not in the favor of making nuclear weapons, therefore Homi Jahangir Baba and the other scientists, they prohibited from developing the nuclear weapons, and they were restricting their nuclear knowledge for the only for the production of electricity. But when this NPT was formulated and 1967 was kept as a date, then it was a sign for the Indian leadership that this is a treaty which is trying to discriminate India. ठीक है. Secondly, one very important development was going in the background after 1962 war, in which China was able to give severe setbacks to India. There was a nexus that started developing between Pakistan and China, where Pakistan gave some part of Jammu and Kashmir territory to China, that is the Saksham Valley. ठीक है. So Pakistan and China, they were creating their nexus, and USA, the Pakistan was always a puppet of USA. Therefore, there was a nexus that was being bridged between USA and China through Pakistan. China, Pakistan and USA, these three countries were developing a nexus in the 1960s, in the later part of 1960s. And because of this treaty, when it was signed, the date was kept to be 1967, so that they could deter India from becoming a nuclear weapon state. And this was the prime reason why India have not signed NPT. ठीक है, clear है. And this particular nexus, its impact we will also see in the 1965 war, and afterwards the Tashkent agreement. ठीक है. Now, second important thing, that there was no fixed timeline for disarmament. Now, India since starting have been trying to persuade the world for disarmament. Since starting, Indian leadership, Indian foreign policy goes for disarmament, but unfortunately the reluctance by the Western countries not to give up their arms, this become another reason that why India have not signed NPT, and later on in 1974 we went for our first nuclear test. Third, this is unfair treaty. Definitely it's unfair, because only the 5 states, they were capable of having the nuclear status, and the other states were not given the power, or they are not being allowed to have nuclear weapons under this particular treaty. So because of these 3 reasons, India have not signed the NPT. Clear हुआ? यहाँ तक clear है that in 1970 a treaty was made, but India didn't sign. Then 1974 we will go for our first nuclear test, that is the Pokhran or the Smiling Buddha. ठीक है. Then these countries, nuclear weapon state, they will create another organization, they will create another treaty, which is Nuclear Suppliers Group. Nuclear Suppliers Group. Now in this Nuclear Suppliers Group, basically it is a group of countries which are able to supply nuclear weapons or nuclear energy. ठीक है. It is a group of nuclear suppliers. What is the aim? To reduce nuclear proliferation by controlling export of material and technology. ठीक है. To reduce nuclear proliferation by controlling export of material and technology. Now, this treaty was basically made so as to counter the India's first nuclear test. ठीक है. And they were able to formulate this treaty, and in the initial times USA and the other countries except USSR, they were against India. And because of them, India was not able to get desired amount of fuel for its Tarapur nuclear plant. Also, India was not able to transfer cryogenic technology from Russia to India. So this was a setback that India got in the initial times because of not signing NPT and NSG. But later on, 2 important incidents happened in the world scenario. Number 1, there was an attack on USA, 2001 attack, 9/11, and it was a tight slap on the cheeks of USA, which made USA to change its policies. Earlier, what used to happen, that USA used to categorize terrorism into good terrorism and bad terrorism. Now, let me explain you that terrorism has been a concept which was evolved only because of USA. What happened, that if you look at the geographical map, there was USSR, that is present Russia and Central Asia. Below this, there was Afghanistan, then it was India and Pakistan. Since in the 1945 itself, it was clear that the Indian leadership was in the favor of socialist model. Therefore, USA and UK, they were favoring Pakistan over India. And this is how they created links within each other, so that they could counter USSR by going from Pakistan to Afghanistan. In the 1980s, when USSR comes to Afghanistan, then through Pakistan only USA was trying to counter USSR, and Afghanistan became a battleground for these two big players. Now in that scenario, USA was giving arms, ammunitions and even finances so that these terrorist groups, they could emerge and they could attack the USSR. One of the mishappening because of this was that the terrorism also started in India, because during that time in 1985 there was an army leader, Zia-ul-Haq, in Pakistan, who was in favoring of using this terrorist method in India also. Okay? But when all this was happening, India was crying for help at UNO, and USA was saying that there is a difference between good terrorism and bad terrorism. Good terrorist, bad terrorist. But the 2001 attack, the 9/11 attack, was a tight slap on the USA, and then USA understood that there is no differentiation between good and bad. Terrorist is a terrorist and they are bad itself. Therefore, this incident became a masterpiece for India, because from after this only USA started supporting India. USA started supporting India. In the background, the second major incident that was happening was that China and Pakistan, they were increasing their relationship, and China was sidelining USA. As I told you a few minutes before, that in 1960s there was a nexus between China, Pakistan and USA. China, Pakistan and USA. USA was supporting China. Now the question comes, why? Because China since starting was a communist country, USA was a capitalist country. Now first let us understand this equation. What happened that when China gained independence somewhere about 1950, then China adopted communist policy and USSR and China were having good relations. But China is China, जैसे उसने इंडिया के साथ किया 1962 वॉर में. Similar incident happened with USSR. There was a dispute between USSR and China over the region of Amur River. ठीक है, there is a river, Amur River. So somewhat the region was disputed between these two countries, and then China started shifting its alliance from USSR and started moving towards USA. The second reason why why China wanted to shift to USA was because in the starting, in the P5 of the UNSC, the permanent 5 members of the United Nations Security Council, China was not a member. Taiwan was a member. Taiwan, which is known as Republic of Republic of China. Republic of China. It was a member. Sorry, I'm forgetting. Just a second. China, Republic of China, Taiwan, Republic of China was a member of P5, not the China. Therefore, in 1960s, when China was developing nexus of China, Pakistan, USA, China wanted that Taiwan should not be given the P5 membership. Rather, China, that is People's Republic of China, PRC, it should be given the membership in the P5 of the United Nations Security Council. Okay. When it was given later on, China also learned many things from USA, and then when their economy was somewhat a match to the USA, then they started targeting USA, and because of that they left the nexus of China, Pakistan, USA, and the nexus of China and Pakistan was trying to counterbalance USA's hegemony in Asia. So these were the two important things that were going in the background, because of which USA changed its policy from being against India to being in support of India. From being against India to being in the support of India. Now, one major important thing also happened, that India in 1991 went for economic liberalization, that is the LPG, and because of this India became a blooming market for the USA enterprises. Therefore, because of these three things, just you write over here plus LPG, because of these three things, then now USA, they started supporting India. And when they started supporting India, earlier they were saying that India is not a good country, India is not a responsible country. They changed their stand, and now they started saying that India is a responsible country. India is a responsible country, and because of this, they initiated the process so that India could get NSG waiver. Means without joining NSG, India could get many of the supplies of nuclear weapons, nuclear energy, as well as nuclear technology for their country's production. Secondly, they also signed India-USA civil nuclear deal. Now, let me tell you that USA was already having an agreement known as Agreement 123 Agreement, according to which they could sign a treaty with a different country. Only so that they could sign a treaty with India, they even amended their 123 Agreement so that they could sign with India. ठीक है, समझ में आया? Are you able to clear at this part? ठीक है. Now let us see. Now, what is the need? Why India wanted to join NSG? Now, India wanted to join NSG because India is a energy deficit country. We do not have so much energy. We are already lacking on oil. We are already lacking on electricity. We are a country of about 150 crore population. So this country need lot of energy, and one source of energy cannot satisfy the needs of 150 crore people. Therefore, India needs to diversify its energy requirement, and nuclear energy is one of such requirement. Therefore, because of that, India wants to join NSG. Now, what are the criteria of joining the NSG? First is that you should have the capability to supply goods that India has, because India, we are having some amount of nuclear energy, some amount of nuclear technology also that we could share with the other countries. Second, willingness to apply NSG guidelines. Now, this is something which India is unilaterally doing from the starting. Okay? Third is NPT membership. Now, this is one thing where India lacks, that we do not have the NPT membership. And why India is not signing NPT? As we have seen, that NPT divides nuclear capable states and non-nuclear capable states according to those who have tested their nuclear weapons till 1967. But India tested its nuclear weapon in 1974. So can there be another way of joining? Yes, there is. Why? Because France is one such country who have joined NSG but have not joined NPT. So on that line, India could also ask the world leaders to allow India to join NSG and not without joining NPT. Okay? Now, let us see what are the arguments against joining NSG. Okay, what the world leaders are saying. Now, the first is that we are being opposed by China, and China is opposing India on the explicit ground that India have not signed NPT. Now, this is the explicit ground why China and some of the other countries are opposing India, that we have not joined NPT. So the solution to that is that we can give the example of France, that France have also not signed NPT and still they are members of NSG. Therefore, India could also be allowed to join. Okay? But what is the implicit why China does not want India to join NSG? Now, the reason is, number one, Pakistan factor. China wants Pakistan also to join NSG if India is joining. But Pakistan will not be allowed by the world leaders to join NSG, because Pakistan historically have shown signs of disbelief and of not being a responsible nuclear state. One such incident happened that China initially in the 1970s was transferring nuclear technology to Pakistan. China was transferring nuclear technology to Pakistan, and in Pakistan there was one scientist, A.Q. Khan. A.Q. Khan, he was a Pakistan senior physicist who was creating their nuclear doctrine and everything. So he was a person who was responsible for proliferation of nuclear weapons in the world market, in the world black market, and because of that, Iran got the nuclear weapons, North Korea got the nuclear weapons, and even Libya, they got the nuclear weapons. Therefore, because of this incident, none of the world leaders want Pakistan to be the part of nuclear supplier groups because they had been irresponsible while handling the nuclear technology. ठीक है. Second, why China don't want India? It is because if India joins, then there would be nuclear power. There would be shift of nuclear power balance. Currently, what is happening that because China is a member of NSG, China is getting superior technology with respect to nuclear devices, nuclear weapons, but India is not able to get superior technology. If India will join, India will also get superior technology, and then India will be a match to China. And this is what China do not want. ठीक है, कोई नहीं चाहेगा ना कि हमारे बगल वाला इंसान भी उतना ही मजबूत हो जितने हमें. So that same thing goes over here. ठीक है. Now what are the arguments in favor of India joining NSG? ठीक है, what are the arguments that you can give? So number one, you can say that unilaterally we have stopped testing nuclear weapons. In 1998 itself, our the then honorable Prime Minister Shri Atal Bihari Vajpayee, he have said that from now onwards we are not going to test any nuclear weapons because we have already tested and now we are nuclear capable state and therefore we will not do. So one is this particular argument. Second, you can say that our nuclear doctrine, India's nuclear doctrine, it says that we will not use the nuclear weapon on the first instance. मतलब सबसे पहले इस्तेमाल नहीं करेंगे. There will be no first use of the nuclear weapons. Secondly, they have said that nuclear weapons are only a deterrence to the other state, not to give threat of the nuclear devices or to use or for the possible use over India. It is only a deterrence to stop them from using nukes against India. Third, you can say that we are very transparent country and we have already signed the protocol of IAEA, that is International Atomic Energy Agency. We have already signed the protocols. We have bifurcated our civilian facilities with the military facilities, and the civilian facilities are being watched by the IAEA, and we have allowed them. So this is somewhat we have done on ourselves only. Fourth, we are a responsible state as being said by the USA and the other nation. ठीक है, have you got what is NPT? ठीक है, why NPT was made, why India have not joined NPT, then the India's first nuclear test in 1974, then formation of NSG, why India wants to join NSG, why India is not able to join NSG, what are the shift that are happening in the world because of the nuclear. ठीक है, are you able to get all this? ठीक है. Next organization is MTCR. It is Missile Technology Control Regime. Now it was established in the year 1987 and it is basically to prohibit or to control the transfer of technology or the transfer of missiles, rockets, UAVs and related technologies which can be possibly used for the nuclear weapons also. ठीक है, clear है. अच्छा, इसमें there is two criteria also, that it should be capable of 500 or 500 plus payload, or it should be having the capacity to go for 300 or 300 plus kilometers. ठीक है, it is MTCR. इतना clear हुआ? ठीक है. Now the third organization is Wassenaar Agreement. Now Wassenaar Agreement was signed in the year 1996. Its headquarters is in Vienna, and it is basically to promote transparency and responsibility in transfer of conventional arms and dual use goods and technology. Now there are certain dual use goods and technology which could be used for creating nuclear weapons. Sorry. Next is Australia Group. Australia Group was established in the year 1985 after Iraq used a chemical weapon. Now it is said that Iraq used chemical weapons, but there are agencies which have not found proof that Iraq used chemical weapons during that time. Aim क्या है इसका? To ensure that exports do not contribute to the development of chemical or biological weapons. ठीक है. There is another organization which is somewhat similar, that is Organization for Prohibition of Chemical Weapons. Its aim is also to eliminate chemical weapons. ठीक है. So this is all in the multilateral control regimes. I hope you have understood. Thank you very much.